Hi guys, today I'm here with a Colourpop haul and try on video, and then I'm also going to include a few other Colourpop items that I already own for a semi 75% full face of Colourpop. The reason for placing this order was I wanted to get their new Stick Foundation. I reviewed their liquid down below, so I will link to that if you'd like to check it out. Didn't go so well, but I was curious to check out the stick, and obviously while on the website I had to pick up a few more things. So I'm gonna just kind of talk my way through, show you everything as I apply it to my face, and anything that's not Colourpop that I'm wearing will of course be listed down below. And I will link to a Colourpop haul that I did and try on about 3 months back as well if you're looking for more Colourpop. But let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing I want to talk about is their No Filter Stick Foundation. I picked this up in two different shades, a little bit deeper than I had the liquid. The liquid worked, but I definitely have more color right now from the summer, and I might start self-tanning as well. I don't know, I'm scared. But anyways, I picked up the medium dark 130C along with medium dark 145W, and I purchased this the day it launched, so I hadn't really seen any reviews of it. I was looking at swatches, but they were on lighter skin. It's always very hard to try, so I went one shade and 2 shades up from the original shade that I had purchased. I also plan on doing swatches of this next to other foundations so you can try and figure out what your shade will be. That will come, when I do my full review of it. So this is my first time trying it out. Right off the bat, miles better than the liquid foundation. The liquid I found, like, it looked cakey, but it didn't give me full coverage, and it made me look old, and it was the worst foundation I've tried in a very long time. So this, right off the bat, much better. It claims to be medium buildable, have a natural skin-like finish, and I think it looks really good. I tried it with 2 different applications, both a brush and a sponge, and I was actually surprised to see that I liked it more with a sponge. When I was drawing it on my face, it really felt not thick, but it didn't feel like super creamy, so I was like, ooh, it's gonna take a lifetime to blend this out with a sponge. But I actually ended up liking the sponge application better. Brush was still great, but I really liked the sponge, and it was not as much of a struggle as I thought it was gonna be. For shades, I ended up going with 130C. They looked really dark when I took them, when I looked at them, and I was like, oh no, these are gonna be too dark. But I think it was almost like there was a deeper layer on the foundation. When I drew it on my skin, I was like, oh, these actually aren't too bad. So I think 130C was a good match for me, but you let me know if you feel like 145 was a better match. But I feel like now that I've blended it into, sorry, just gonna zhuzh my hair. Now that I've blended it into my skin, I'm happy with the color match. So of course, I've had it on for 20 minutes. I will need to keep testing it out, but stay tuned for a review. That should be coming within the next week or so after I've had some time to test it out. Up next on my face, I used the Colourpop No Filter Concealer. This one is not new to me. I really enjoy this. I'm not a huge fan of drugstore concealers. For some reason, they just disappear on my skin, but this is not one of them. I let it set under my eyes. This is the shade Medium 26, which is one of their newer shades, which I don't think I've actually demonstrated on my channel. When I was initially using it, I was using a lighter shade because it was like either too light or too dark. So I feel like this is a good shade for me. It definitely is light, but I enjoy a light under eye, and then I kind of blend my foundation up into it to kind of make it a little bit more seamless. But this for me is a good shade match. I do really enjoy this concealer as well, and like I said, this one is medium 26. So if you tend to like my shades in concealer, like Too Faced, the multi-use in warm beige, or Tarte medium, this is a pretty close match to those, I think. And I actually, in my Too Faced review, which I will link to down below, I swatched this one next to that if you want to see them next to each other. I don't have it anymore, but in the past I did use one of their brow pencils. They've got a couple now, and I'm not sure which one it was, but it will be in previous videos. So I did want to try their brow gel. I've heard really good things about it, so I got it in clear, and I'm not sure how I feel about it. I liked the way it made my brows look. I don't feel like it's holding my brows in place and creating the type of brow that I love, like the Benefit 24-Hour Brow Setter does, because people raved about this, so I was so curious to try. And one thing I didn't like about this was the fact that it says it's clear, but it's a very thick, like matte clear, if that makes sense. Like, it's not clear, it's not transparent, it's opaque, almost looks not white, but like a jelly. But what I'm getting at is I felt like it almost left like a dandruffy looking look to my brows because it's not 100% clear and it does have a matte finish. So a lot of brow gels can leave a lot of shine in your brows and people may not like that. So maybe that's what they were trying to avoid here. Honestly, I didn't read up on it. So far I liked the way it shaped my brows, but I don't feel like it's giving them a ton of hold, and that kind of like crumbly brow look is not something I'm going for, so I'll have to keep playing with it. Let me know if you have tried it in the tinted shades. I generally just prefer a clear brow gel, but I've heard so many good things about it, so let me know if maybe this is off or something, or you didn't have this experience with it, or if you did and I'm justified in my thoughts. Now, I need an eyeshadow palette, like I need a hole in the head, but here we are. Bought it anyways. I wanted to get the new kind of pink one, but I'm actually glad I ended up going with this one. This is the Good Sport palette from Colourpop, and I was gonna do a green look with this, but I think my past 2 videos I've done green looks with but this to me is so gorgeous, and I wanted to put that in the inner corner, but I was like, you know what? Let me step outside of my comfort zone. So I actually really like this palette. I think that it has a really interesting selection of shades. You can go more neutral, you've got a great gold, you've got greens, you've got purples, but it's at the same time not overwhelming in the shades that are in here. So on my eyes today, I started with High Hopes, which is a great starter shade to just put through the crease, or you could put it on the lid if you want something a little bit more basic. Then I went in with Hooky on my outer corner. This is when I was still debating green. I didn't know what direction this was gonna go in, because I feel like I've done a lot of green and purple lately in an attempt to stop doing so many warm looks. I've been doing a ton of green and purple, so I don't know if that's becoming monotonous to you. And I also then went in with the shade Trooper, which I think is a very interesting kind of mustardy yellow. I put that in the crease and I kind of ended up covering it up a little bit, but I really did want to play with it. I was curious because shades like this are always so appealing to me, but they can pull way too chalky and pastel on my skin tone, but I thought it added something interesting, so I wouldn't mind kind of packing that on the lid and seeing how it went. So then after that, I decided to go in with Sista, which I was so impressed with this shade. It's matte, it's vibrant, it's purple, and it looked matte, vibrant, and purple on my lids, which is so exciting because that's not always the case. Purples are very tricky, so I thought that was so beautiful. I decided to, I used the Colourpop eyeshadow as a base for this, so then I added a little bit more of it and used the shade Rookie, and this is such an interesting shade. It has this kind of burgundy base, but it's so reflective that it doesn't have a ton of depth to it, and there's a ton of blue, like, I don't know if you call it shimmer or glitter or sparkle, but it really is reflective in there, and it really comes through when you put it on your eyes. I did get some fallout with this shade, so I always do my face makeup first and then my eye makeup pretty much no matter what, but I really did enjoy this shade. It's not something I would have normally reached for, and that's why I went for it in an attempt to mix things up, and I think it's such an interesting shade because from far away it may not look like much, but then up close you get a ton of blue in there, but it's not like a tacky blue, it's not an overdone blue, it's just a very interesting because like blue glitter for me, I'm like, nah, but this I'm super into, and somehow it worked with the burgundies and stuff. So I think that that's a super fun and exciting shade. And then for my inner corner, I put the shade Wild Out, which I thought was a great inner corner shade. Really beautiful. This palette to me is so impressive. I love Colourpop's pressed shadows. I wanted to love their Super Shocks because they swatch so well. They're so beautiful, but I never reach for them. But their palettes to me are some of the absolute best. Amazing prices. And I meant to mention, and I think it was only until October 31st, but I used That Girl Shay's code for 20% off, so keep an eye out for discount codes, because although it is an affordable brand, especially if you're Canadian, you may end up paying customs. You're paying to exchange it from American to Canadian, so it really can get up there in price, so be sure to keep an eye out there for discounts, because you know I love a deal and I rarely ever shop without some kind of discount code, so thank you for that, Shay. Moving back out for bronzer, I have a Colourpop bronzer, which I've mentioned before, and it'll be in that video I linked to down below. I actually don't know where it is, and I like it, but I don't love the shade. I purchased one that was a little bit too deep for me. In hindsight, maybe I should have purchased another for this order, but I did use a Colourpop blush, which I really love. I'll link the shade down below because I have it in one of the Colourpop palettes, and I just wrote blush on the back because the blush, highlight, and bronzer all look exactly the same because you get the same packaging. So I don't know what the name of this is, but it's a beautiful shade. It's like this corally orange, just added such a nice nice flush to the cheeks. It would make a great eyeshadow. And if you're of my skin tone, I definitely recommend this because, like I said, with that yellow eyeshadow, these kind of shades can get a little bit dicey, a little bit too chalky, but it's just a beautiful flush without being too intense. And I think it could work on a lot of skin tones. I can only, of course, speak to my skin tone, but I think it's super flattering. For highlights, I used one of their singles in the previous video that I mentioned, so again, we'll link that down below, but for today I wanted to use this. I don't think it exists anymore, but it's a nice palette, and if you already own it, I encourage you to break it out again. This one, like for example, this blush I really like, but it takes quite a bit of building, so the other blush that I mentioned is more what I wanted this to be, but this highlight is gorgeous. It has like this peachy goldness to it without it being too peach or gold. It doesn't look like a stripe on your skin. Really beautiful texture. They have a bunch of these duos. I just don't think that this one exists anymore, and again, has no name on it. Like, why do they have to be so mysterious? But they've got these duos, and I do like their single pressed stuff for the face too, so this is something I recommend in one of the other shades. Something that I picked up, the kind of thing that I've probably thrown out so many of these thinking I don't need them, is a pencil sharpener. I didn't buy this one. I have never heard anybody talk about it, but it was like $3, and I needed one. I don't have one, so I picked that up, and I haven't tried it yet, but I did get 3 of their lip liners. I recently did a video on my favorite lip liners, linked below, and I wanted to try some more because Colourpop makes my absolute favorite lip liners. So I picked up 3 different shades. The one I put all over my lips is in the shade Beeper. And this, I don't know if I own the liquid lipstick. It's a really popular liquid lipstick. It's not what I wanted it to be for a lip liner, but I did like using it all over my lips. It's super creamy. It feels really comfortable. You could put a gloss over it. And then because it was a little bit lighter than what I wanted it to be, on the edges of my lips, I put on BFF3. This is actually a repurchase for me. I love the shade. This is a little bit deeper one here. It's kind of a My Lips But Better sort of shade. And they discontinued Bound, which was my favorite lip pencil. I loved Bound, and then I found BFF3, which I also love and still is now my #1, but they discontinued the Bound lip liner, and I'm like, how dare you? And then a newer one to me that I had not tried is in Wild Nothing. I have not put this on my lips yet. That one has a little bit more pink to it, but I think it's going to be a good shade. So no matter what shade you pick up, the formula of the Colourpop lip liners is incredible. I love their lip stuff so much. So overall, I feel like I blew through that really quickly, but overall, I'm really, really happy with everything I bought. I think the foundation looks so good. I actually was going to put on this foundation because I'm going out later tonight and then like wash it off in a few hours and redo my makeup, but we'll see how this holds up because I may just wear this all tonight because it ended up looking really good. I had low hopes going in to this foundation because I was like, if you can't figure out a liquid, how are you gonna do a stick? But I think they've done it, so stay tuned for a review on it. Let me know if you have tried the foundation, and if you are my shade generally, let me know what shade you picked up. I think I'm happy with 130. It's a little bit kind of peachy because I'm a little golden peachy, I feel like, and I think it's a good match. It's not super yellow. The 120 when I tried the liquid was super yellow. So anyways, I'm gonna continue to wear this, and I will report back in about a week with my full foundation review so you can see it, how it lasts throughout the day and whatnot. Let me know down below what your favorites are from Colourpop, and I'm so glad I had a good shipping experience. So many times I've paid like $20 customs at the door, or they've lost it, or whatever it may be. So very excited that this showed up unscathed with no customs and in a pretty good amount of time. I think it was like 2 or 3 weeks, and there was a Canada Post strike and a whole thing. So we made it. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to connect with me, you can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at SamanthaJaneYT, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!